I got my work cut out for me today, and this is going to be a new interesting recipe that you can do at home if you have the right ingredients, and we're going to show you exactly what you're going to need for Mahi Mahi barbecued fish tacos. Can you say that with me? Very good. Okay. Alright. What we're going to start off with is, well, you can't have Mahi Mahi fish tacos without the Mahi Mahi. You can find this at any grocery store. Kroger will probably be your best bet if you have a Kroger nearby. Any grocery store, just look for the fish section and you're looking for Mahi Mahi. That's what those are. Nice big thick steaks. And we got almost a pound here, and this is exactly how much we need. It's 1 pound or the equivalent thereof. You can even go 1.5 pounds if you want to. Now, we're going to also be making 2 kinds of sauces. We're going to be making our own barbecue sauce and our own white cilantro sauce. Here's what we're going to need for our barbecue sauce. It's going to involve 1 cup of regular barbecue sauce, 1/2 cup of chopped mango, and we are going to also be adding 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, 3 tablespoons of white vinegar, and 1/4 teaspoon of Caribbean jerk. And I'm not calling anybody a Caribbean jerk. This is the seasoning, see? And 1/4 teaspoon of crushed red pepper. So a lot of stuff is going to go into this barbecue sauce. Now for the white cilantro sauce, you're going to need 1/2 bushel of chopped cilantro leaves, 1 cup of light sour cream, 1 cup of plain white yogurt, and 1 lime squeezed. This is going to be a very interesting recipe. So follow along with me as we make our barbecue sauce first. What you're also going to need is a food processor, so you definitely want to be prepared in that department. First of all, what we're going to do is come on over here to our food processor, and we're going to put 1 cup of barbecue sauce. In it goes. This is going to be a very interesting barbecue sauce.
Don't mind me.
As much as you can get in there. Yeah, don't mind Cuba in the corner.
I'm just watching.
I'm kind of squishing him over here.
Okay, so that's about 1 cup. Alright, now we're going to take our 1/2 cup of chopped mango and make sure it's peeled too. Now, the word about mango is that first, once you get past the peel, you got a nice big pit right in the middle of it, so you got to cut around it because there's no way you're going to separate both halves to chop it up. So you're going to have to work around the pit. Once you get to the pit, toss it away. 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. There's 1. And 2. Going into the food processor. And 3 tablespoons of plain white vinegar.
You did what I did.
We're going to need 1/2 teaspoon of Caribbean jerk. Also helps to have this open beforehand. So this will be 1/2 teaspoon of Caribbean jerk and 1/4 teaspoon of crushed red pepper. Now I know you've heard me say it countless times, I do not like peppers. As long as I don't taste them, I'm fine. Crushed red pepper, on the other hand, is an exception because it's a spice that we're dealing with. So just open that up and pour about 1/2 right up to where that line is. That's about 1/2 right there. A little bit more. There we go. 1/2 teaspoon going in, or 1/2 tablespoon, sorry, of Caribbean jerk. And 1/4 tablespoon of crushed red pepper. Now, what you want to do is get 1/2 of the halfway point, so that's 1/4. And remember, spicy doesn't bother me, it's the flavor of the pepper itself. That's about 1/4 right there, so let's go ahead and dump that in too. Now comes the magical touch. I'm going to close the lid on this. Now you want to puree. What up if you plug it in?
You want to make sure it's plugged in.
Now, you want to puree this. Look at it go. Okay, now look at that, how some of those chunks got up there. So we're going to take a rubber spatula and we are going to simply remove the lid here. Ooh, that smells good. We're going to basically push all of the main chunks back down into the bottom of the blades, where the blades are, so that way that is smelling really good. Blend it up again real good. Yeah. There we go. Now let's go ahead and remove the bowl from the food processor. I'm going to go ahead and rinse that down because we no longer need that. We're going to take our barbecue sauce, of which we just pureed with all those ingredients, and we're going to put it in a bowl. Why put it in a bowl? Because you're going to need to refrigerate this while you work on your other ingredients. So let's get the bowl out and just pour it right in there, and look at that. Oop. Make sure the blade does not go into your food. If it does, you just take that part out of there. Not a problem. So let's take it over here to the sink and fish that blade right out of there, because you are going to deal with blades falling into your food. Just make sure you retrieve it before you refrigerate it. So now we're going to take our barbecue sauce and just refrigerate it for the time being because it needs to be chilled. Now we're going to work on our sauce, our white cilantro sauce. What we're going to need for our cilantro white sauce, we're going to put that in the mixing bowl there. 1 cup of plain white yogurt. And for God's sakes, don't get the strawberry or the blueberry kind. I know we love our strawberry and blueberry yogurt, but for this recipe it needs to be plain. Okay, now that's a full cup of plain yogurt. Put this right back into the refrigerator. We no longer need it. And then you're going to reach for your sour cream. About a half a container of a 16-ounce container of sour cream. And that's a cup. So now you have the rest of that sour cream to play with later. Just whatever you want to use it on. It's up to you. You could actually use an extra bit of sour cream for your fish if you wish. But a lot of people will prefer to use guacamole. And the recipe does call for guacamole. I do have a homemade guacamole recipe, but unfortunately I don't have all the space to make all of these ingredients. So I decided to hunt 2 sauces, barbecue sauce, which is essential, and also your white cilantro sauce. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add our half a bushel of chopped cilantro leaves, and that go right into the bowl there. There we go. And this is going to be our white sauce. Okay. Then we are going to take 1 lime and squeeze the juices right out of it into the bowl. Get as much of the juice as you can. And this is going to be very delicious. This will go over the top of your taco. The barbecue sauce will be cooked along with your fish, and the sauce is going to be drizzled right over your tacos. So this will bring an exotic and a South, or a very Central American feel to cooking. There's still a bit of juice in there. Squeeze that out. And then what we're going to do to add to this is add our spices. And we are going to use a 1/4 teaspoon of all of this stuff. We'll start off with a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. Being very careful not to spill any of it. There's a 1/4 teaspoon there. And then our blackening spice. There's your 1/4 teaspoon of blackening seasoning. That goes in there. Now we're going to use a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cayenne pepper. 1/4 teaspoon, not that much. That's about a half. Let's get rid of some of that. That's about a 1/4 right there. 1/4 teaspoon of red cayenne pepper. And a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cumin. There we go. That's a 1/4. And then 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder. There's a 1/4 of black pepper. Now, you got all your spices in there. You got your salt, chili powder, blackened seasoning, red cayenne pepper, and ground cumin. What we're going to do now is we're going to get a nice big spoon and mix all of that together. And we're going to reach for a trusty wooden spoon. And all you got to do is just mix it in real good until all of your ingredients are mixed together, making sure that you don't see any green at all. which means getting all of this stuff mixed and blended as best as possible, and all you need is just a mixing spoon. And now you have your white cilantro sauce. And this is going to go on the top of your taco. And there you have it. White cilantro sauce with 1 cup of yogurt, 1 cup of sour cream, 1/2 a bushel of chopped cilantro leaves. You got a 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder, 1/4 teaspoon of blackened seasoning, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon red cayenne pepper, and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cumin, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We're using kosher salt because kosher salt, of course, it goes with everything. And there you have your sauce. Look how beautiful that is. And to taste this sauce, no double dipping in my kitchen, but oh, that is heavenly. That is good. Now what we're going to do is get rid of this spoon. We don't need that anymore. And we're going to put this in the refrigerator to chill as well. And what we're going to do is we are going to get ready for our fish. Now, to begin on your fish, you could cut this whole, you could cut it, you could slice it if you want to, but it's going to be shredded anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cook it whole, because we need to cover these with, you guessed it, blackened seasoning. So keep your Zatarain's out, because Zatarain's makes the best blackening seasoning, and I would recommend Chef Paul Prudhomme's blackened seasoning. Of course, any other seasoning as well. And what you want to do is you want to cover it over your fish with blackened seasoning. But if you don't have access to Chef Paul Prudhomme, then go Zatarain's. Because Zatarain's is okay, but when you compare it to the great Chef Paul Prudhomme for your cayenne pepper, your Cajun spice, your blackened spice, pretty much anything, he makes the best pepper and seasoning that you will ever taste. And to flip that over, I don't have a set of tongs, but I do have a fork. Let me go ahead and just use a standard fork to flip it. Well, alright, I'll just touch it then. That's okay.
Wait,
I'm going to flip it over. Anything excess, just let it shake. Turn it over. Turn it over. Meat fork, I really don't want to penetrate the fish because the fish is delicate. But I will probably be using a standard spoon to flip this fish over. With a meat fork, it's a good thing to use on pork chops, chicken, steaks, anything beef. Okay, now you're going to cover up your fish with blackened seasoning until it's all kind of nice and covered. And don't be afraid to touch your fish. Just kind of give it a shake. Give it a shake there, because I don't have my tongs, so I'm going to have to do the next best thing. And do this as delicately as possible, with dainty fingers. Okay, now once you got those covered up really good with blackened seasoning, now you're ready to dress your skillet with the best olive oil that you can find. And we're just going to need just a nice dollop of it. Go around and around and around, maybe a little bit in the middle there.
That's more than a dollop, but...
Okay, so a couple dollops.
But who's guessing?
Yeah. All you want to do really is just cover the bottom of that. Now we're going to turn our burner on. Make sure you get it all the way around there. And why olive oil? Because it enhances the flavor of whatever it is you cook. We could use vegetable oil, but vegetable oil on this recipe will just make the whole thing just taste kind of awkward. So what we're going to do is just going to use olive oil, and that will maintain the freshness, or not the freshness, it'll maintain the taste of your mahi fish, and it'll taste really awesome that way.
Yeah.
So definitely use olive oil. Do not substitute it. Once this gets nice and good and hot, we're going to put our fish into it and then cook it up really good. And then cooking the fish is going to be kind of interesting because we're going to shred it as we cook it. So do not use a non-stick pan for this. You want to use something like this with no Teflon on it, because you're going to need to shred it as you cook it. Let's go ahead and place our fish carefully into the skillet. There's 2 and 3 steaks of mahi. Now to turn them over, best to use tongs, but since we don't have any, we're going to use a spatula. Right here. A metal spatula to go with our metal skillet. Now you definitely don't want to go non-stick for this recipe, like I said, because you're going to end up destroying the Teflon by doing this recipe, and you really need to shred them. And at some point, you notice that your mahi is nice and pink. Well, when the pink goes away in the middle, that's when you're ready to add your barbecue sauce and blend everything together. Now, these tomatoes will also need to go in the refrigerator, because you put these on your tacos along with cheese, and your white sauce, the cheese. I'm using a Mexican blend cheese today, and there'll be plenty of it.
Cheese.
And you can also use lettuce, but for this recipe, I went ahead and just withdrew the lettuce. But let me also show you the tortillas that we'll be using as well. And let me go ahead and put these away too, because we no longer need these. Okay, that's there, that's there. Okay. Now let me show you the tortillas that we're going to be using. We're going to be using flour tortillas, taco sized, and these ones will be steamed in the microwave oven for a little while. And when we're ready to steam them, you remember how we used to do it in the carne asada burritos? We're going to do the same thing in the microwave. We're going to steam our flour tortillas and put them in there for about 45 seconds. Just let them steam up right there in its own bag. But there'll be plenty of time for that later on. So I'm just going to go ahead and insert these into the microwave for the time being and just leave them there. Now, listen to the sizzle of this fish. You know you're starting to get ready here. So all we need to do is just separate it a little bit, make sure that it's not sticking to the pan, and it's not. That olive oil will do its job. There's a bit of fish over here, so I'm going to go ahead and do like that and flip it. Okay, there's the results of using blackened seasoning. Now we're going to carefully, okay, there we go. We can carefully flip our fishes over. And there you go. Now what you might want to do too is if you want to put the fish down first, you can actually do so. And we're going to turn this down to medium, right there at 5. That's medium, right there in the line. And what you need to do too is if you lose some of your seasoning, don't worry. You can still take your blackened seasoning and sort of sprinkle it over as you're cooking as well. So you're not fully out of the ballpark yet. So just take an extra bit, anywhere you're losing your blackening, and just kind of go over it once again. And there you go. Let the other side cook now, and kind of do like this over here, and make sure that oil goes everywhere. We definitely don't want fish stuck to our skillet, and even though you're using oil, especially olive oil, your fish will still stick because we are using a metal skillet with no Teflon. Okay, you want to be careful there. Okay, there we go. Flip it back over again. Make sure that you get the seasoning that we just added to set in. And give it a good shake. Keep it moving. That way it'll prevent the fish from sticking to your skillet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start shredding our fish. And you're going to look for where right like that. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your knife just like this. And see how it's still pink? We're not ready to add our barbecue sauce yet. So we're just going to go ahead and shred our fish. So you definitely want to cook this whole. Now, give it a once over, flip it. There you go. Flip it again. Now, oh, this is a lovely, lovely dish. I can smell that mahi-mahi, and I bet you can too. If you're a fish lover, I definitely recommend this recipe. It just takes a lot of preparation work, and you have to know what you're doing. Alright, now we're going to turn this down to low. That way we can just let that simmer for a little bit. You're ready for adding your barbecue sauce, and we're just going to add a half a cup of that barbecue sauce you made. So, this is about a full cup of ingredients here. And what we're going to do is we're going to use half of our bowl of barbecue sauce and mix it all together. Oh boy, this is going to be good. I can smell the combination of mahi-mahi and our barbecue sauce that we just made. And it's really starting to smell good. I am so eager to try this recipe. Alright, so once your fish really mixed in well with barbecue sauce, and smell. You got the nice blend of barbecue sauce, mango, and all those spices, and now we're ready to let this just simmer just a little bit on a medium high, or I'm sorry, medium low, which is about number 4 on our burner here. So we're just going to let this simmer just a little bit. Make sure that your shredded fish is now cooked fully. Okay. Now, are you ready to assemble our tacos? Now, This recipe also calls for homemade coleslaw. Like I said before, though, we don't have the kitchen space to make all of that stuff, so we're going to have to omit the coleslaw. And I can show you exactly how to do that in the recipe that I'm going to be putting up on the website. But you can actually use your own homemade coleslaw and your own homemade guacamole. But if you don't feel like making your own guacamole, don't worry about it. You can buy guacamole in the store. It's not going to kill you. What we're going to do is we're going to turn our microwave on, and we're going to heat those babies up to 45 seconds. Get them nice and steamed up. And while we're doing that, I'm going to get a plate. And I'm going to assemble these tacos. I'm going to start off with a plate. We're going to get our tomato, our white cilantro sauce. That's nice and chilled. And our cheese, which I've stuffed right back in here. And if you don't want to make the coleslaw, you can always use lettuce as a substitute. I just didn't have enough room to make the lettuce, but this should be just fine. Because you're going to have a lot of flavor in here as it is. So normally if you want some guacamole, you line it with guacamole first. But since we don't have any, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a nice spoon of your fish barbecue. Right like that. Okay. Then we're going to take some tomato. Right like that. I'm going to turn this back down to low again. Actually, we can turn that off now because our fish is ready. And then we're going to take our Mexican blend cheese. Go over the top of it nice and even, like that. Now you can also use some of that sour cream that you put away too if you really wanted to. If you're a sour cream kind of person or a guacamole kind of person. I like both really. But since you're already using sour cream in your sauce, there's no need to put sour cream on the top of this because you're already using this magical ingredient. And what I'm going to do is get a spoon. And all it takes is a nice spoonful of white sauce. Spoon it right over your taco just like that. And that is how you make Mahi Mahi barbecued tacos. Fish tacos. Mahi Mahi barbecue. Mahi Mahi barbecued fish tacos.
I was gonna say, were you gonna turn that into a tongue twister there?
It is a tongue twister if you can say it right. These are Mahi Mahi barbecued fish tacos, and an outstanding recipe that you will just eat right up. And here we go. We're going to take a first bite of this and see exactly how this tastes. Mmm. Oh yeah, I'm definitely making this recipe again. And you probably will too. So until next time, this is SonicBlu Darkfold, and may all of your cooking be just this delicious.
For complete recipes, send an email to sonicblue@yahoo.com. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you're not cooking good, you're not eating good. Bye for now.